What's going on, everyone? DJ's here with another replay/map analysis for you. So the bottom line is, I played 2 games on this map. I thought both were good. I wanted to show 2 replays in one, and I didn't know how to do the thumbnail and stuff, so this is sort of a map analysis/replay analysis of the map Chosin Reservoir. Chosin, I'll just call it Chosin, roll with it like an E. Chosin Reservoir. This is in the current map pool. It's one of the larger maps for the current map pool, and I had a lot of fun on this map, and I feel like you can learn a lot from these replays that I had. First replay we'll be examining was me versus Kontby about a month ago in an Olaf mirror, and second match we're going to have is between me and this Chinese dude, I don't know how to pronounce his name, happened a few weeks ago as well, and I think that was Jake versus Cole. So we'll have 2 interesting matchups, Tier 2 and Tier 4. There is no Tier 3 on this map. Just Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 4. So yeah, basically, before we get into the map between me and Kontby, I want to talk about strategies for this map. So this map is pretty large, and I like it because large fog maps typically demand recons. So recons are kind of a must-have on this map. Hence why I beat Tordred when I played him on this map, because he's so used to not using recons. I had superior vision, intel, etc., and I was able to beat him down because of that. Recons are a must in this map. However, I add the caveat that recon rushes are not necessarily good on this map. I typically delay my recons. I don't typically rush out with a recon and try to interrupt the comm tower or try to interrupt cities early on. I typically roll and try to get my infantry caps optimized, get some tanks out. Then, when I'm ready to push, get some more intel, that's when I build the recon. So I think there's a common misconception that you get a recon, you got to immediately attack. Just go to the front line, shoot an infantry. Who cares if it dies or not? Let's go. That's not how recons are supposed to be. You got to be gentle with your recon. You got to be nice to your recon. Give it a nice embrace. You got to keep it around the whole match. My favorite recons, 1, 2 HP recons that live 20 plus turns. Those are your best friends. You want an alive recon, bottom line. Doesn't matter if it's injured, you want it alive. So don't throw it away early game to interrupt an infantry cap that I'll probably get eventually anyway. So this map is a good example of that. Before we get into the match, I also want to talk about COs on this map. Let's do an exercise. What do you think is the best Tier 2 CO on this map? I'll give you a short moment to check it out. It's pretty large, etc. Yeah, the answer is Olaf. No questions asked. If you choose Max on this, you deserve to lose. Because Olaf is king here. I can also see some play for Eagle as well. There's an airport. It's pretty large. You can build up a lot of units, but Max just stinks. I also love artillery on this map. I don't go overboard, but I typically build at least 1, probably 2. I think I built 2, maybe 3 for each of the matches I played on this map. So I like artillery here. You can put them in a forest on your strong or your weak side, defend like 4 cities right there. See, you can protect the comm tower or fire on the comm tower up there, etc. Artillery pretty good in this, so I would never choose Max. I would go Olaf, maybe Eagle. In terms of Tier 4, this is a really hard one because there's a lot of planes, but Adder really likes large maps. So this is another Jake versus Adder. Take what you want. Basically, it's kind of hard to go wrong. I typically would go Jake on this map because there's so many planes, but the move bonus is great for like huge maps like this. It can really close the gap, make overextending less of an issue when you have those movement bonuses. So Adder Jake, you can't really go wrong. But if you're in Tier 2, man, you best be choosing Olaf or Eagle. And then Tier 1, typically Hawk or Sasha, basically. Javier, you know, these comm towers are too contested to choose him. And then Von Bolt, like, he's good. He's like the default pick usually for maps, but like it's large enough where the superpowers matter the most and the income matters the most. So it's either Sasha or Hawk. I typically go Hawk. I'm a Hawk guy. So I usually go Hawk, Olaf, Jake. That's who I roll with on Chosin Reservoir. Anyway, we've talked about the map, we've talked about the COs. Let's get into the game itself. Since we got 2 games to cover, it's going to be a longer video. I'm probably going to go a little quicker pace than typically for most of these matches, so let's roll. One last thing, I want to give a huge shout out to Demon Hunter for creating this Advanced Wars by Web replay player. Man, the replays are really janky right now. It's hard to do replays, so props to him for creating this replay player. It's pretty intuitive, easy to use. I think you guys will enjoy it as well. He also, you know, made a whole Mac version just for me. Like, I asked him, I was like, hey man, I'm one of the few, the proud, the sad, who has a Mac. Could you help me out with that? I can't run any of this PC junk. And he did. He basically coded it, allowed me to play on it, put a lot of time into it. I really appreciate his help. I'll see if I can try to find like a download link or some crap and throw it in the section or whatever. Just, yeah, toss it in there. Anyway, let's get to the game. Start off our game, me versus Contby. I'm the orange player. We do typically infantry, you go for the base. Although I've seen some people go for the airport first because you get an earlier T-copter. I'm one of the T-copter guys on this map. I value infantry capturing properties before aggression on this map. I think you should build a T-copter, maybe build an APC, but you know, T-copter is probably better like 99% of the time on this map because you're going to eventually need a T-copter to grab these properties or these properties over here. So typically, early T-copter investment is a must. I think I made the mistake this game where I forgot that T-copters are huge. And you also want to go for up here. Usually from this base, first one you get this base, second one you want to go up here to capture the airport. You don't want to go over here first. You want to get that T-copter, AASA Pizzle. So you need to go up there. Anyway, this time I think, see, notice how I don't build any recons. Contby here does build a recon. We'll see how ineffective it is during this match. I mean, it's good eventually, but it's not going to do any work in the early game. You might as well delay it and pursuit of better capture chains as well. I build a tank here. Typically, I build a normal infantry here and a T-copter next turn, but I was feeling feisty. I guess it worked out in my favor this time. Usually, you want to build your tank on your weak side, which is the top for orange. Your strong side, see these kind of align over here. Typically, you're facing off against your opponent's weak side, which they have the comm tower, but you can take control over it. So typically, your strong side, your goal is to take over their comm tower, so you have 2 comm towers. Anyway, you usually want to put your tank on your weak side because you're expecting a recon on their strong side, since a recon is a lot harder to traverse on their weak side than on their strong side where there's a ton of roads, so it can really reach faster. So if you're trying to fight recon aggression, go on your weak side. So see, he gets his recon out, builds another recon in the middle. I just kind of avoid that. I built my own recon here. I kind of regret this in hindsight. This was one of my first matches on this map. Not first, but like maybe 3rd or 4th. And I've played a lot of games on this map since. I would have built a T-copter this turn right here instead of putting a recon. But I did a really late T-copter, which I think was a critical mistake on my part. So he moved his recon over here. See, it's not even near the front lines at this point. It's just kind of chilling. We both build T-copters this turn finally. We both were delayed. We should have both built one like 2-3 turns earlier if possible. And typically, another thing about Olaf Wars, see how Contby did not grab this property first. He went over to get this one first. Typically in Olaf Wars or Drake or whatever, you want to be as aggressive in your capping phase as possible, because it is so hard to cap properties later on in the game when all your units have 8 HP or less, because they're going to get plenty of CO powers, plenty of super CO powers. Your infantry are going to be worn down or dead. You need to capture those properties early before it gets into this wasteland of snow and rain and what have you. So I agree with him going over here, skipping this. You know, it's not optimal at the beginning, but you will be able to hold on to that property later on. Because if I'm capturing this with 8 HP, he has 3 turns to stop me. I cap 1, then I cap 2, and then you can stop there. Typically only 2 because you're at 10 HP, 2 turns to cap. However, if you're at 8 HP or even less, it's very hard to recapture property. So if you're playing as Olaf, if you're playing against Olaf, playing against Drake, you want to be more aggressive in your cap phase, especially in Fog where they can't really tell. I made the mistake, I'm kind of doing my normal cap phase, but Contby made the right move over here, skipping some of the easier earlier caps. He will lose a little income, but I think it's worth it in the end because it's going to be a slugfest soon between 2 Olafs. So typically you want to go back on the T-copter to grab this thing, that port right there, but I was feeling super feisty. I was like, you know, I messed up late. I realized, and I also plopped infantry there. You know, it's not a huge deal, but I did it anyway. I was like, I'm really behind. I need to get these properties before maybe he can interfere with something or other. So I kind of forgoed this back dock over here. But typically, if I made a T-copter turn 4, turn 5, I go for that one first, get some early income. Then once I drop it off at this port, then I make a beeline up here and get these 2 properties, because those are a must-have. You don't really want to build a black boat or some crap to get these properties from the port. You want to use the same T-copter that you used over here to get those 2. So typically, a T-copter is needed because it basically gives you 3 extra properties. It's basically forced on this map. You're forced to get a T-copter. So you might as well get it as early as possible anyway, rather than delaying. Like I said, I also like artillery on this map. I put it on my weak side over here because I'm intending to put it on this forest, so I can capture all these properties without any worries from tanks, from recons, etc. And it should defend me pretty well. Actually, sorry, this is my strong side, not my weak side. I'm putting on my strong side. So right now I have a tank on my weak side and an artillery is headed for my strong side, along with a recon for vision. See how ineffective these recons have been so far, though? So he has vision, and he spent a lot of money, but I have a tank there defending. And if I put my recon over here, like, you'll see. The early recons aren't that great on this map. They're useful later on in the game. Now his combat is going for 2 tanks. But they're not great early game. See, I see him capturing, but I can't really interrupt because there's too much of a threat of a tank, especially here. Like, I can't really interrupt. It's just going to be a dead recon, basically, assuming that he has a tank somewhere. I mean, you can gamble and attack, and maybe he won't have a tank like he does in this game, but you can't really depend on that. So we go from the normal capture phase. Here's a stupid move by me. See over here? I should have hid my tank in there and let the recon come and attack me and then killed it off. Instead, I had a feeling there was a recon there, and I just wanted to, like, hey, get out of here kind of deal. I ran straight into it. I should have just hit him and let him attack and lose the recon just to delay the comm tower, because it's not worth it. I don't really care if he delays the comm tower that much, because it'll be really easy to reinforce at this point in the game. It's a long way for these tanks to travel to keep getting that comm tower, so... yeah, one of my mistakes. I talked to Go7 about this game afterward, and he said that was definitely a mistake on my part. We had a good conversation about this map. This is why I feel entitled to tell you guys about this map, because I've talked to multiple people about this map. I have a pretty good wealth of information on it. It's not just me pulling shit out my ass and be like, yeah, should have done that, should have done that. No, like, I've discussed it, had a lot of games on this map. Anyway, now it's Combat's turn. So at this point, Combat brings his tanks in, he brings his infantry in normal capping phase. See, I can't interrupt these things because it's too risky for my recon. I don't want to risk it dying. There is a tank over here. It's not quite in range yet, but I couldn't risk it. So my early recon basically just got visions, like, cool, he's capping the properties I expect him to cap. Didn't really provide any information. I needed to have that recon later on in the game. So, you know, eventually get that recon, but for now it's not really helping out that much. And he's about to get this port over here, where I'm a little late to get the port. That's why he skipped that property earlier. It allowed him to get to that area first. So, I build an early anti-air, which is smart. I'm smart. So typical developments. Going for the islands over here. See, we're both getting the islands with the T-copter. We both know what we're doing in that front. Going for the triple tank build. On these larger maps, typically you want to forgo getting medium tanks as long as possible. You just want to get tanks, recons. I get artillery when it's, you know, applicable, but typically tanks, B-copters. If you see an enemy Neo tank, or medium tank, just build like 2 B-copters and tanks will be able to take it down. So it's not the end of the world. You don't need to have a medium tank to fight a medium tank. You can get air units that are quicker. Maybe a bomber if you're feeling like it has 7 move instead of 5, like the medium tank. So you don't have to be forced to build tech up on the ground units. So you just get a lot of tanks. A lot of B-copters, a lot of tanks. I probably build a B-copter, yep, this turn. So I'm pretty good on the defensive front down here. No real issues. Let's see. Since we're doing 2 for 1, I'm going to skip through a lot of the stuff. Basically, his thing over me right now is he has that port, and I do not have that port. I tried to get it, but he's on the offense over there. So I'm a little bit behind in the capture game. I'm doing all out on this side. Actually, another thing I forgot to mention. I started off with my tank over here, and did a little mini front switch, where I went down here, went down there. Now all my stuff is down there. I only have a recon up there. So he has no idea. He must think I have at least 1 tank over there. So I did a little mini front switch. I thought was pretty smart. I was pretty happy about that. I also have, you know, an anti-air. I have copters. I probably honestly didn't really need this anti-air because I have copters. I have 2 copters. So if he attacks one of my copters with another copter, or attacks one of my units with a copter, I can fire back with a copter, do at least 70%. So it's not really a big deal. I probably could have forgoed the anti-air, but you never know. He goes in the offensive here and about to learn a painful lesson about me having my strong side down there. So I was happy about that. Kind of going on the offensive on both fronts, which I don't agree with. We're both kind of mirroring. We both have anti-air, we both have copters, we have tanks on all sides. I don't know why he was attacking with his weak side though. That part didn't make as much sense. So typical developments. I basically kaplow his tanks, kill off his infantry, basically murder everything on his weak side with my strong side. And then I make some of the same stupid mistakes. I go on the offensive with my infantry for some strange reason. I think I was just feeling feisty. I should have retreated that. I should have kept them all together. Maybe built an artillery. Use these infantry for an infantry wall later on for my artillery. but instead I was just being feisty for some reason. He's being in position to capture my comm tower as well, which is a bit of a threat. My infantry are not quite as developed as his are. He seemed to put all his infantry on one front, whereas I kept kind of popping up here. That's one of my issues I've noticed in the past, I've diagnosed, is that my infantry typically, I just split them evenly, but when you're going strong side, weak side, start diverting your infantry to your strong side as well, not just vehicles, but your infantry as well. Typically you see like tank, tank, go on strong side, infantry go weak side, tank, tank, but you want to send all three to one side, not just your vehicles. So if I build like a tank down here and a tank down here and an infantry, I still want to loop that infantry over here to contribute. So he murders all my units up there. It's pretty much mirrored. And he builds a bomber. He told me after the game he was anticipating a medium tank, which is, he says, you always build medium tanks eventually. I've noticed your style or something under those, that a direct quote. And it was right, I think I did build a medium tank right about now. I saw that he had a bunch of tanks, I was like, 3 tanks, medium tank, build. Didn't really put too much thought into it. It's basically a story of two fronts, murdering each other on one front, and then getting slaughtered on the other front. So my infantry are not quite in a good position to cap as his are, which is a bit of an issue. Going for the cap of the comm tower, that's basically your goal in your strong side. Cap the comm tower, you don't want to overextend too much because they can really easily replenish with 2 of your bases rather than 1. So it's my turn. We're getting close, well, no, halfway to the Super CO power going on. Still going all out offensive, you know, skip through all this. I interrupt the cap over there. I think I agree with that. Even though they're going to go into the meat grinder and get immediately demolished, I still kind of agree with going to interrupt the cap with 1 single infantry. I retreat, finally understanding my lesson. Don't, you know, throw them in the meat grinder except for that single one that's going to get obliterated. I was basically hoping to get off my Super CO power the turn after so I could interrupt that cap and stop it completely, while also capping off this. I don't think Kanpai would be able to stop that cap, but it would involve sacrificing a few tanks rather than just infantry, so I felt pretty good about that. But he just kept pushing on the offensive on the side over here, which is pretty aggressive. I was kind of stupid to build this artillery too. I was a little late in the game. I should have built a tank there, I think, or switched it around a bit. So even though I have artillery there, we're kind of both being a little boneheaded, but Kanpai is going all out on both sides at the same time simultaneously. And I'm probably going to get my power next turn, to be perfectly honest, after all these exchanges. Building up his copters over there, but I have easily an anti already. So my goal this turn was basically... So I went on my own little secret mission over here, which I don't quite agree with. I was like, I see a copter, I want it dead. No matter how many units die to get that, I want that copter dead. I got 2 comm towers at this point, so I have 20% firepower increase over his 0, to be perfectly honest. So I was like, okay, gotta interrupt the caps. I want to kill that copter no matter what. So I throw my tanks in. I kill off that. Kill off the infantry with another infantry, then I throw in my anti-air. And I killed a copter, but now if there is 3 tanks, a bomber, copter, everything's going to die. Like that, was it worth it? No, it was not worth it. In retrospect, usually, even though you see some good tactics, look at the large, like, holistic picture. Is that your weak side? Even if you get that tactic and you kill that copter, maybe get a great trade on that turn, the next turn you're not going to get great trades. They're going to have more units. Even if you, let's say your opponent has 15 units and you have 5, and you kill off 4, and they'll kill off 3 in the same turn. So great, you have a great trade. And now they have freaking, I don't know, 10 units left or whatever. I forgot what numbers I used anyway. You're screwed. So only use those tactical kind of ideas when you're on your strong side. I was able to kick off my Winter Fury. He still will be able to cap. So he had 1 HP. So I was a little upset about that. He was able to pull off the cap. And both of my caps over here will be ruined too, because Kanpai is about to get his super as well. See, like I said earlier, it's going to take 3 turns to cap these rather than 2 turns, which is why you should put pressure, be aggressive on your infantry caps early game if you're going up against a CO with global damage like Olaf. So everything got obliterated. And I see a medium tank there. I see the bomber right there, and I'm like a little scared. Let's skip to the main idea here. So this is... okay, let's get to what I did with my medium tank first. So right here, he killed off my anti-air at the top, by the way. Here's where I made a mistake. I attacked this tank with my medium tank. I got a good trade. However, he's just going to bomb that medium tank. I was trying to bluff Compai. I was trying to make him think, oh, Adidas has an anti-air in the forest over there, maybe on this forest, etc. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Maybe he can reach it. Maybe if you bomb it, the bomber's dead. However, what I should have done is get my medium tank down here closer to the bases for a better bluff. See, bluffing is in the higher levels of Advanced Force by Web. When my series, bluffing and luring will be the next part of the lessons. You want to bluff that you have a unit. You want to bluff that you have a artillery and a force. You want to bluff that you have an anti-air ready to kill those B-copters when you really don't. You want to bluff you have units. You want to have front switching. I had the tank over there and I shifted it down there. You want to bluff you have something when you don't. And I had no anti-air over here. I had it built this turn, but it's way too late. I wanted to bluff so he wouldn't kill the medium tank. But what I should have done is attack from this angle over here, where it's more plausible that I actually did have an anti-air. And he picked up on my bluff, or maybe he just didn't even care at this point. But he went off and killed my medium tank with his bomber, basically. And at this point, he has the income advantage because these caps are taking forever. It's basically the only difference in this game is these caps are kind of ruined by virtue of the early infantry aggression in terms of capturing. So Compai has that advantage over me, even though it's been a back and forth game. Kills off my medium tech. I have no recourse for that. It's basically just dead. I attack over here. So I'm going to skip a few turns a little bit. So I capture this property or get close to it. And he's still on the offensive over here. But when you see, another thing for a higher level Advanced Wars is when you see something like the calm before the storm. Like, notice how there's not very many units up here. And I have a lot of units here. It's like, okay, that's a hint. There's not very many units over here. There has to be units somewhere, right? He has a whole shit ton of units over here. I should sense that. Knowing that there's a shit ton of units, I sort of sensed it. I moved down a little bit. I didn't go up here like I was fighting earlier. I was fighting up here. But I sensed the calm before the storm. And I was like, something's not right. There's like 3-4 units up here. And I see like one tank and infantry over here. Something's not right. You need to use that intuition to think, hey, if there's not units in that area, there's going to be a hell of a lot of units in the other area. So I was a little sorted into it. I fired here and I attacked into it, but then you can see there's Neo tanks and a whole bunch of shit. And I went on the offensive here, which is idiotic. Stupid move. Only attack. Don't want to attack on all fronts at the same time. You want to choose your fronts. I should have attacked here, retreated here. It's kind of like a fulcrum. You attack somewhere, you defend the other way. You attack somewhere, you defend the other place. Like, it's back and forth. And if there's the absence of units in one area, that means there's the presence of units in another area. That's just the law of Sir Isaac Newton or some shit like that. So you need to know that stuff, alright? That stuff. So that was my mistake. He has a Neo tank and a whole bunch of shit, and it's going to plow me. And he does. And we switch fronts now on. This is my strong side, that's his strong side. And we go back and forth, and there's Winter Furies. And there's a whole bunch of shit going on. And I finally go over this port, and it's taking forever. We have a whole bunch of back and forth. I'm kind of, like I said, I have a second game going on. I'm trying to squeeze this in. Mostly going for the lessons plans overall. And as you can see, we have pretty equal properties at this point in the game, but I resigned at this point just because I was behind a lot of units. He has 36 to 20. Just bad trades, and I think that really killed me was the port and the early captures over there. That really hurt me. And also not realizing that when I was winning over here, it's like, oh, okay, that's my cue to retreat, retreat, retreat. You need to have those ideas in mind when you're playing this game. Those are the main things behind this map. So I had plenty of opportunities to win. I talked to Ghost 7, he's like, man, you could have won if you did like 1 or 2 things different, like easily. And I was like, yeah, well, it happens. And one of them was noticing when there's the absence of one unit in one area, it means the presence of another. Other is the early capture game versus Olaf. Also, that early thing, it snowballed where the recon was alive instead of interrupting my cap, was another thing. So just keep all those things in mind. And I'll show you how I used it in my next game versus the Chinese dude. Sorry, I don't mean to call him the Chinese dude, but I don't. His name is in Chinese characters. I don't understand. It doesn't even show up on this emulator what his name is. It just says question mark, question mark, question mark. So I'm not being offensive or ignorant or anything. It's just Chinese. I don't understand Chinese. Anyway, so let's go into that game right now. Jake versus Cole. So a little background on this Chinese dude. I've played him before like months ago in like October, November, and he whooped me. He was like number 3 in Fog at the time. He is one of those hidden guys who just plays once every month or so, and he's just really good. High-quality player. I think he remembered beating me because he kind of flexed on me here and picked Cole instead of Adder or Jake. Kind of, I don't know. I mean, there's some roads and stuff, but it still felt like a flex pick, and he whooped me last time. So I think he felt very confident. Although this match came after my Comp map, I talked to Comp, I talked to Go 7, I analyzed my game, and I felt a lot more strong about my opening in this game. So you have the typical opening. I'm at the top this time is orange. I've been liking orange lately. Orange and green are my favorite colors. So I built my T-Copter early this time. So you have tons of infantry. Who cares about recons? Let's focus. Capture game, capture game, capture game. It's going to pay off dividends later. We don't need to worry about recons. He builds a recon earlier. Let's see how effective it is when I build a tank. Build a tank on my weak side again. See, that part stuck with me. That part was a smart move in my first game, and I'll continue to do it to the end of time. So, go back this time since I had my early T-Copter. I felt comfortable capping that. I built an artillery on my weak side, or my strong side, because I'm popping this forest too. That was another thing I learned. It was a smart move. I will do it again. Notice I have no recons at all. He has a recon here. Can't do anything. It's going to die if he attacks. I mean, he has a tank as backup, but if I kill the recon, he'll need vision to attack my tank back, right? Like, it's not like the tank could immediately just attack my tank. He'd have to have an infantry in position to get vision on my tank, then his tank could attack my tank. And it would just injure my tank where his recon would be dead. So it's just not worth killing the infantry with the recon. So, yeah, the recon's kind of useless. I mean, it hops on this property, and it's kind of annoying, but maybe it, like, delays my capture turn for a little bit, but really recons are just not really worth it on this map. Notice how I'm also skipping some of the caps over here to grab this port property early, like the Comp I did. So I took some of his advice, not advice, but what he did in the early game that worked. Even though I'm not facing Olaf or facing mass damage, I decided just to go for the early ports so I can hold on to it later on in the game. So you have typical developments other than what I noted. Put my tank in the forest, inviting any attack. It doesn't quite cover it covers this area over here, so it covers all my infantry basically. You cannot attack my infantry without getting attacked by my tank. Go double tank, I still have not built a single recon. I'm not getting aggressive on my weak side. See, I could throw these down here and try to kill off his infantry, but I noticed my strong side, which I've dedicated as my top by virtue of putting the 2 tanks, an earlier produced tank, and an artillery. I'm just going to go all out on the top. Just have one single tank to fight off like a recon or what have you. Maybe I'll even front switch it up to the top like I did last game. So, recognizing my strong and weak side, not getting overly feisty like I did last game. Kind of mirroring it. Also having 2 tanks on the strong side. Pretty much identical except he bought a recon and got a later T-Copter. So my capture game is better than his at this point. Very virtue of the T-Copter, just looking better. And he can attack this over here, but I have an artillery, and then I have 2 tanks, I have 4 tanks, and I have an anti-air. It's just looking pretty good. I felt really good about my start. Yeah, you can attack from the road. Yeah, you can have a 2-hit KO even. That's nice. See, I have this infantry right here. I see him capping, but like I said, I learned from my last mistakes. Don't attack everything on every front. You're just going to lose an infantry. Not worth it. Yeah, doing the same thing. You drop off the infantry there, you bring your T-Copter up here, you capture these 2 islands. That's just basic standard. Everyone knows that. Kill off this. I don't think I revealed the artillery at this point. I wanted to attack with my infantry to give him the idea that I did not have an artillery there. I wanted to pretend like I didn't. I could have easily one-shot that infantry, but I wanted to pretend like I didn't have an artillery, so I just attacked with infantry to infantry. Attacks with the recon over here. Now kind of shifting over to the top, doing a front switch, even though I haven't seen anything over there anyway, so it's not like I noticed any front switch. It didn't fool me or anything because I had no vision. Built a late recon, by the way. I didn't mention last turn. I built a late recon, finally get some vision. Brings in his recon, brings in his tank. Unfortunately, tank is not quite in range of my artillery, but I decided to reveal it this turn anyway, kill off that infantry in one shot. Bring in my, basically all my army. I shift my tank up here, so I'm front shifting as well. Basically both front shifting up to the top, which is fine. It's also on my side of the map. If you look at slice this map in half, this city, like this forest right here is basically the midpoint. So this is all on my side of the map, which is perfectly fine by me. I attack a whole bunch of crap with my tanks. Although they're not defended by the recon, I felt pretty comfortable because I have anti-air, I have copters. Hell, I have infantry to interrupt caps or walls. So I'm feeling pretty good at the top. He's basically walking right into my main force. The absence of troops over here means the presence of troops over there. Attacks my tank, kills my tank. Devastating. Not really. And I remember I made a boneheaded play on this turn. Sometimes when you're getting home from work after a long day, actually he built a Neo tank, which is really strange. I don't recommend that. You should have brought a tank, copter or something. Anyway, sometimes after a long day work, you don't really want to watch the replay. You just want to go fight and yeet units to the front lines and have some fun, blast stuff. And I forgot there was like a 7 HP tank there. I forgot there was these tanks there. So I think, what did I do? I attacked this infantry with my tank. Instead of attacking tank to tank, I attacked an infantry with a tank because I had no idea these things were here because I didn't even bother watching the replay. That's how confident I was feeling. I was like, eh, whatever, just throw it in there. I don't even know it's there. And then I was like, oh shit, now I realize there's tanks there. So that was dumb of me. But now I kill some infantry to make myself feel better about myself. But he has a lot more tanks in the area. He also is getting his power soon, which is going to allow these 3 units to get involved. I realized that my copter would die this turn, but I had a backup, so I felt fine about it. I expected a copter to kill it, but an anti-air would have been fine too, and he does have both, unfortunately. Literally have nothing over here but infantry, just chilling in the forest, pretending like there's nothing there. So if he attacks, I can stop him, but I brought 1 recon over there to deal with the infantry. You know, it's 4K invested. Like I said, later game, recons are great here. Just to have an idea what's going on over here. Interrupt a cap if necessary, but, you know, not a huge investment. So, yeah, use Trail of Woe, which is the superpower. So instead of going for the typical CO power, he went for the straight-up superpower, which allows him to massacre a bunch of my units. And you might have noticed, but I have a, no, just, you know, a slight income advantage, because of the islands. Never mind, nothing important right now. So he gets a lot of good trades, and I'm feeling pretty shitty at this point. At this point, I was like, I talked to Go7, I'm like, I thought I learned my lessons, but I haven't. And I wasn't feeling good. I was considering, I wasn't considering resigning, but I was, you know, very upset with that stupid boneheaded play by me, throwing my tank to attack an infantry, and just not having better preparation. I probably should have brought my artillery down to defend better. Maybe put it in this forest over here and engage something over there rather than firing an infantry. Just kind of like I was rushing it. I was feeling lazy getting home from work, and I should have, you know, checked the replay. Should have planned this out better, but whatever. We'll see if I can get back into it. He's going all out on the bottom too, which is a mistake because remember, you can't attack on all fronts at once. You want to attack on a single front. So I'm able to interrupt every single one of those caps. And I kill off all these infantry over there. I retreat. See, I have a superpower right now, by the way. I could use my superpower and bring in this tank. Only 1 tank or 2 tanks would be able to get involved in a copter. So I was like, you know what? That's another lesson. Holding on to your superpowers until they're more applicable. I was like, you know what? I'm going to hold on to the superpower. I'm going to lure him into the den of Aegis. And then I'm going to massacre his units. It's going to be like the Wounded Knee Massacre or some shit. He's going to bring all his units in, overextend. And, see, I have all this shit planned. I have a bomber now, too. They have, see, you don't need to build a Neo tank. You don't need to be a medium tank. So air units are quite good on this map. Once they kill off this anti-air, he doesn't have anti-air for a long time. He's not going to be able to kill that bomber. So bombers are quite good if your opponent does not have at least 2 anti-air, maybe even a fighter. Fighters are actually kind of good on this map because they can get to the front lines within 1 to 2 turns. So don't sleep on fighters. Go7 basically told me that don't sleep on fighters. They're actually pretty decent on this map. So able to interrupt all these caps at the bottom. That's just too ambitious. I'm like, none of this are happening. So kills off a bunch of my units at the top right there. Way overextended. He's literally 1 turn away from my airport. My bomber is going to be able to kill a unit as soon as it gets off the tarmac. Infantry over here, pretty far extended as well. I understand the appeal to overextend when you're coal and you get the movement bonuses, but this is kind of boneheaded in my opinion. So he kills off a whole bunch of units, but I have a superpower and he's overextended. That's the worst combination you have. I'm about to use one of the strongest Super CO powers in the game for Tier 4, in combination with his right near my base, so everything will be super easy to reinforce. Has a Neo tank, but I don't give a shit. I have a frickin' bomber. So, triple recon. Triple recon. Yeah. I don't agree with that. I mean, I like late game recons, but triple, like, you only need 2. Like, I don't know. He loves recons. Block Rock activates. First, kill the tanky. See, I'm moving on my infantry over here, my weak side. See how I'm moving them over here this time? Instead of just going down here to their depth. Bringing them over here, even from the weak side. They're all going to my strong side. Except for a few over here, the skeleton crew to defend my properties. None of them have any success. Hell, I go for a cap, which is a little ambitious, but I didn't think he had anything. I thought everything was up there, so I kind of went for it. Heal my units. Bring my artillery in to defend this cap. That's why I went for the cap, because I had an artillery there. I was like, hey, if the tank defends it, if anything attacks it, I'm just going to freaking destroy it. Yeah, so this becomes a massacre. I just kill off all his infantry, kill off all his whatever the heck's. Look at this. It's just a massacre. Like, Block Rock is blocking his rock. I'm rocking his block, bro. Rocking his world. So he has a Neo-Tank, and it could come back and attack, but, like, I have a bomber. And he is, his anti-air is at 1 HP. And it didn't build any anti-airs, didn't build any fighters, just 3 recons. I don't know how these recons are going to fight in a tank battle. So, yeah. So he interrupts my cap over here at the bottom with the recon, but that recon is soon to be DE-ed. And does a little bit of retreating. I have an 8 unit advantage at this point, so I'm feeling pretty good. But now, yeah, just murder, straight up just brutalize that unit over there. Go for the cap over here. Bring my other unit over here. I have plans to get the port. I have plans to get that. This artillery is a nice anchor. That's why I like artillery on this map. They're just great anchors to capture properties on both sides. You can put them in this forest over here. You can put this forest there. You can put them as far as you want. And they just do work. Also, the movement bonus is nice for Jake to bring in the artillery plus the artillery bonus. So I get a little feisty over here. I'm right at the midpoint of the map. I felt super feisty with my bomber. For some reason, I was like, since I saw him retreat, I was like, he doesn't have anything to kill my bomber. So I just go YOLO in it. Bring all my units in. Feeling pretty good. I'm winning on both fronts at this point. But now, Cole gets vision, starts bringing in a whole bunch of shit, starts massacring my troops. Getting nice road engagements for his copters to one-hit mine. And he has a fighter. And at this point, I was like, yeah, he's either going to have an anti-air or a fighter. So my bomber, I think, retreated this turn. We'll see. Keeping his Neo-Tank hidden as he should. See, I kind of, like, completely sidelined that Neo-Tank. Or if maybe if it was a medium tank with the bomber. So I think air units, if you're going to tech up, I'd tech up air units first before you go ground units. Keep it to tanks, keep it to artillery, keep it to recons, keep it to, you know, anti-air. You don't need to get complex. So I get an income advantage off this. Finally. Have something to show for all those things. I have unit advantage. I have an income advantage at this point. Bring my artillery here. See, just shift it over to this forest. And then you can shift over this forest. You know what I mean? Like, you can just keep shifting around forest, keep capturing properties to your heart's content. Artillery pretty damn good. Don't be a hater. Don't choose max on this map. So I retreat. I realize that I'm like, hey man, he overextended last time. We probably overextend again, you know? So I bring all my units back, replenish them. I have a whole bunch of units ready to set up. And, yeah, he just goes all in again. He's like, alright. He wants some counterplay. He wants to get this property. That's basically his bottom line. He wants to get this property because I took this property down here. I'm going to capture his port. He needs to have some counterplay in the property department. So I think he got a little too feisty because of that. Luckily, since he's so close to my 2 bases, I'm able to have a decent counterattack. See, kill off the bomber. I'm like, you know what? This bomber's probably going to die, but it's probably going to die to a fighter or a tank or a anti-air. So I was like, might as well make it close to my properties. It did work. You know, killed off a few tanks. Oh, I had a late block rock. I forgot about that. I had a late block rock just to get some unit like movement, I guess. Just for reinforcements, basically. Didn't really do too much damage. I tried to kill off a copter with 2 infantry. I tried to do vision denial by virtue of killing this recon. It would have been nice to kill it. Didn't really matter that much, though, because he bought 3 recons that damn turn, so he could have replaced it easily. But in my mind, I thought it was good for division denial, but it failed anyway, so. Trying to protect my bomber by virtue of having all this stuff here. I was like, you know, if he's going to get the bomber, I'm going to make it at least a little bit hard. You're going to have to attack my infantry with 2 units. You're going to have to kill off my tank. So, felt pretty good about that. Unit composition looked pretty solid. I built down a anti over here because I was expecting a copter. Maybe a little late, but, you know, still better late than never. Uses Trail of Woe again. Another super by Mr. Cole. We'll easily kill that bomber, I would assume. Yep. Making great trades. No doubt. Making great trades, you know, making headway. The issue is I have unit count. He's terribly overextended. Those 2 factors, it doesn't really matter. Like I said earlier, I had that great trade where I killed off the copter, I did all that. It doesn't really matter. I have more units. This is just a small little tactical battle. This is a war. This is advanced wars. This is not advanced battles. This is not some bullshit battle. This is advanced wars. You need to be looking at the macro level. You got a great turn right here. I'm going to freaking slaughter his army, okay? I'm not taking hostages. I'm not taking POWs. These guys are dying. Torturing. I'm pulling some Bashar al-Assad shit on these guys. They're not having a fun day. So, anyway, overextended. That was a bit of a tangent. But overextended, was able to get counterplay on that fighter. Unfortunately, didn't kill it. Not sure if it was a roll. Probably wasn't because he had the super up extra 10 defense. But, you know, it's going to be a pain in my side as a blocker if he kills both of my anti-airs. But built another bomber. I was like, eh, kill the fighter, whatever. Yeah, let's build another bomber. Not teching up to me. See, I haven't built a single Neo tank or medium tank or whatever. I'm just teching up air. Keeping it simple on the ground, teching up on air. That's typically how you go on this map. And I have a 4,000 income lead at this point because I captured the port and I captured this property. And it's looking pretty good over here. You can interrupt the cap. However, you'll get blasted by my artillery, plus my tank, plus my recon. So I'm kind of pushing. I'm doing a little thing where I'm like pushing on both sides. But I noticed that he's going all out here. And I'm like, you know, since I'm closer, can I afford to put some of my units on the bottom too? He can't afford that. He needs to go all out at the top. Whereas I have more flexibility by virtue of being closer. So I'm like, I throw a little token force down there. Yeah, play with them. Play around a little bit. So, and yeah, he keeps the Neo-Tank on the front lines. My bomber's like, oh, yes. So that Neo-Tank's going to get blasted. Bottom line. Builds 3 tanks this turn. I agree more with that than the tech ops. Go back to retreat. Forget if I retreat or capture this. Oh, you only have to capture one more thingamajigler. But yeah, I would basically like heal all my units at the top. I'm kind of just chilling. Bringing some units down here just in case he brings a whole bunch of forces. I bring my bomber here, right? Basically in line with the Neo-Tank. You know, in like chess or whatever, you want to have your rook aligned with the king or the queen aligned with the king, even if there's pawns or stuff in the middle. This is basically that. I don't care what's in the middle there. I want a straight line at that Neo-Tank. I want that Neo-Tank to be dead. That Neo-Tank has a death wish. Helped kill the last bomber. We don't forget here. Builds a black boat. I don't even know how that happened or when that happened. That's just weird. But, you know, to each their own. Kills off all my units here, which kind of sucks. But I still have at least 4,000 extra income to work with. Which is not the end of the world, but it's also pretty nice. I'm not going to complain. I'm also looking pretty good up here. Notice how there's a lot of units over there. Absence of my units means presence of my units up here or here. Never forget that. Builds another Neo-Tank. Don't agree with that. Healing the fighter. Yeah, that was bold on my bomber, but I wanted to kill the Neo-Tank. I think I make like a little shitty wall around it that doesn't really do much. I think I just sacrificed my bomber, which is whatever. Killed the Neo-Tank, that's what I wanted. Yeah, this is not going to be D-Day. This is going to be more like, I forget all the battles, but you're just going to land on the coast and get obliterated. So, yeah, retreating over here. So, coalescing towards the top again. Interesting compositions. Loves the recons. You know, they're helping him out. He likes the recons. I use Block Rock because I feel feisty. I think I was feeling a push down here. I saw all the units up here. I was like, you know what? Counterplay at the bottom. I have my eyes on this property next. Put my infantry there, put an artillery right there, and it's good as mine. Or an artillery there, you know, either or. This was stupid, but, you know, we all do stupid stuff something once in a while. Tried to trap this infantry or some shit. I probably should have, like, taken this. I think my goal was to get that infantry in the T-copter and take that property, which is kind of hard to defend without a T-copter. Yeah, so yeah, keeping it pretty simple. Copter, you know, I have a lot of mun. Like a lot of mun. Just think on a battleship at this point. I was like, hey man, got a battleship, lock down all this shit. Why not? Put it around here, but still not worth the cost. But it would have been a nice flex. But I wasn't ready to flex. Like, this guy is still giving me a run for my money. So it's not flexing time. Interrupts all my shit up here. Gets great trades. Basically completely repels my attack. And I am forced to retreat. But I throw a little plopper. Get a little plop bomb on his Neo tank. And I was like, hey, I'm losing up here. I gotta win down there. I think. No, never mind. I just retreated from everywhere. I was like, trusted my handy-dandy retreat and hoping you overextends again. I got a lot of unit count. I got 41 units to 27. So I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to retreat. No shame in retreating. This guy likes to overextend. I'll lure him to it again. Yeah, I'm chilling. I'm like, hey, I got 4K income lead. Hey, 4K income lead. I can just retreat. You know, save up some money. You know, have a nice war. So I just do that. Basically retreat. I'm like, hey, sit on this 4K advantage. Just chill. Got my handy-dandy copter down there to get some vision. He's trying to take my forest with that thing over there. Overextending. Right on key. With a Neo tank. What if I had a bomber there, bud? Yeah. So it's just, you know, I like when opponents overextend. Even if you got good tactical battles over here. Like, I see all his forces are up there. I'm like, alright, time to pounce on the bottom. And I bring up a whole bunch of forces, basically fight back. I'm like, whatever, I'm going to get block rock probably next turn, depending on how much damage he does. I have a bomber now, I have all these units. Yeah, continues the fight, uses the CO power to enable him to keep overextending, to resupply his units. Built an APC over there, I guess he was intending for a stealth. Still hasn't gone for these properties over here, which is, I think, was just a mistake. He was kept going for this middle area overextending when he should have just fought over here. Locked it down, and then captured my port and stuff, then slowly progressed. But instead he would just keep firing and firing on all cylinders, just towards the middle, like, ugh! Like, keep trying to attack me. Puts his his artillery over there, thinking he can go and get me. But I'm ready for that. I use my block rock. Things are about to hit the fan for him. Boom! Oh, it didn't one hit KO. Well, that would have been nice. But I obliterate that. He won't be able to interrupt this cap, I don't think. That's just because he has the movement bonus, so he won't be able to interrupt it, so I'm about to get another lead. Planes bonus, baby. Planes bonus. Who needs a bomber when you got the planes bonus? Kill off a bunch of shit. Like I said, I'm kind of speeding through this since it's 2 replays in 1. But I have a whole just death ball of stuff over there, and I know he's going all in there, so I'm building some units down here. And yeah, he's just going at it. Retreats finally. I think he's starting to learn his lesson about not going crazy. I retreat over here. I'm hiding in the corner. I see the copter and the tank. I'm like, you know what? It's not a hill I'm worth dying on. I'm going to reinforce and pull back. Like, you know, the income advantage is nice and all, but you don't want to lose a whole bunch of units for the sake of income. At this point, I have a 6,000 income lead. I have 3 more properties than him, which is pretty damn nice. So now I'm just going to my strong side. However, he makes a really smart move here. I have no idea. So his smart move this turn, vision denial. He killed off my recon. I don't know what's going on anymore. All I have is 1, 2, 3 vision units now. I don't have any recons. I have no idea what's in store. He has a lot of units down here. I'm like, I think it's safe. I can just attack, right? So I had no idea what's going on. I still have forces down there. But I have no idea what's going on over here. I'm like, I just think it's safe. He must be down here or something. Killed my recon, so I have no idea what's going on. Build a recon later on. Build a fighter, because I was anticipating a bomber, and he did build a bomber, so that was nice. Yeah, didn't see that. Didn't see those things coming, and then boom, 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 boom. I was like, where did that come from? Where did that come from? I had no idea. I had no intel. I needed that recon there earlier. I threw it to the front of the lines, got obliterated. I didn't know what's going on, and I can't counterplay because there's just too many units. So he immediately just brings the game right back into it. I thought I was winning for a good bit, then suddenly just boom! Vision denial is huge. Make sure your opponent doesn't see your plans and just slither in there like a little slithery snake. Kill off some shit. Oh, he built the... Oh, that's kind of interesting. Anyway, So that sucked for me. I was very pissed off about that. I was like, you know what? Pissed me off here. I'm going to go on the offensive over here. Get all my units down there. You're not going to be able to stop this. I saw how many units are up there. I'm like, there's no way in hell he's going to be able to stop this movement on the bottom. I went for an attack here. I don't know why. I think it's because I had so much of an income lead. I was like, you know what? Let's make this a war of attrition. The 6K is going to show up eventually. So I went crazy. Uses Trail of Woe. Overextending again at the top. Still haven't captured any of my properties. Notice that he hasn't even really even capped very many of my properties, to be perfectly honest. Mostly just focusing on the battles rather than the capping, which is a big mistake. Double mechs over here, which is feisty as hell. Going on the offensive again, but like overextending. And guess what's coming? Block Rock. So yeah. It turns into a massacre at the bottom. Just one-shot a whole bunch of shit. I'm gonna get this property. I did get this property. Now I have a 8,000 income advantage. This is the point where it's like, yeah, you gotta make some counterplay within 1 to 2 turns. And he's trying to make counterplay, but I have a hidden infantry to interrupt that cap. Boom, 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 boom. I see the bomber. My fighter's getting in position to cut him off. Slowly put him in the corner. Maybe put it over here so the bomber is, you know, cornered. And yeah, he resigns. His supply line basically broke. He had 11 less units than me. Won on both fronts at this point. Yeah, so I felt good about this game. It was a redemption game after the loss to Kanpai. Basically, I wanted to use the lessons learned about using one to retreat, using the fulcrum. If there's presence of troops in one area, there's absence in the other. Overextension, I was able to milk overextension to every last drop. If he didn't overextend, I don't want to say he would have won, but it would have been a lot harder to win. Overextended too much. Knowing when there's absence of troops, knowing whether to bluff. Like, my bluff was pretty bad with the medium tank compared to the artillery or whatever. So had to just be cognizant of that. Unit composition as well. Make sure you have lighter troops on this map. Since it's a larger map, you want to have lighter troops, except for your airports. You can attack up the fighters, you can attack up the bombers. And anyway, yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed yourself. Another shout out again to Demon Hunter. Helped out a lot with the creating the stuff and whatever. Anyway, hope you all enjoyed. Hope you learned a lot about 1 vs 1 Chosin Reservoir. And have a wonderful day, night, evening, dawn. Bye now.